USC football is in the hunt for their first win outside the Coliseum since last November.
And the USC women's soccer team is trying to get back in the win column after a roller coaster weekend. Sports Scene starts now.
Welcome back into the Annenberg Media Center. I'm Connor McGlynn.
And I'm Jackson Safon. The USC football team hits the road this week as they look to take on last place in the Pac-12 Arizona in Tucson on Saturday.
Jackson, while USC's been finding their mojo after back-to-back home wins, Arizona can't say the same. Wildcats are coming off 3 straight losses to conference opponents.
And USC eked out a 4-point win against number 21 Colorado last week behind another offensive explosion. The team tallied a season-high 539 total yards.
But it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows back there for USC's offense, who had 4 turnovers, 3 of which came on Colorado's side of the field. Quarterback Sam Darnold was responsible for 3 of them by himself, 2 fumbles, and his first career interception. However, the redshirt freshman talked about how if they can just hold on to the ball, they're going to be one tough group to stop.
No one can stop us so far if we don't turn it over. So we're only killing ourselves, and we're going to go as far as we want ourselves to go, to be honest with you.
USC could be missing some key playmakers for this week's game against Arizona. Running back Justin Davis left in the 3rd quarter against Colorado with an ankle injury, and Coach Helton says his status for this week's game is doubtful. Cornerback Jonathan Lockett re-sprained his shoulder, and offensive tackle Zach Banner sat out his 2nd straight game, still nursing an ankle injury. Both of those guys are still questionable for this week.
I made sure to tape up my ankles just for this
me
show.
Too.
There you go. But USC isn't the only team coming into the weekend a little bit banged up. Arizona's top 2 quarterback options in Anu Solomon and Brendan Dawkins have both missed time throughout the season for one reason or the other, forcing the Wildcats to rely on true freshman Khalil Tate. Now, whoever's going to be the starting slinger back there for Arizona is still unclear going into this weekend, but Tate was the last one to finish the game against Utah.
But Connor, quarterback isn't the only place for concern for Arizona. Their defense is, simply put, not very good. They're allowing over 30 points per game and over 450 total yards per game to opponents, and astoundingly, they're allowing their opponents to convert almost 50% of their 3rd downs.
Defensively, this is a pressure football team first. They try to disguise coverages, pressures. They've made it hard on several quarterbacks, whether it's in our league or out. They will provide us a challenge both in protection and with the disguises that they bring.
Jackson, Zona's defense might be struggling, but USC's certainly is not. The Cardinal and Gold were able to hold the conference's 2 most high-powered offenses in Colorado and ASU to less than half of their season points per game average in the last couple of weeks. One of the main reasons for that success has been a dialed-up notch in the pressure. USC totaled 7 sacks in the last 2 games, comparing that to just 5 in their first 4 combined.
And USC, I mean, they've been climbing back up the Pac-12 ladder with a couple wins in recent weeks, and Arizona is looking to escape the cellar. But for more on the look around the Pac-12, let's go over to Alexa.
Heading into the season, the Pac-12 Conference boasted 5 teams in the AP Top 25 poll. 6 weeks in, they're only down to 2. Let's take a look at where things stand halfway through the season. The cream of the crop in the conference has surprisingly surfaced from the Evergreen State. Washington has taken the conference and the nation by storm, winning all 6 of their games and reaching a top 5 ranking in the country. Both the Huskies and the Washington State Cougars have dominated Pac-12 North foes Stanford and Oregon on their way to undefeated conference records. So be sure to circle that Apple Cup on your calendars. Meanwhile, down south, things are a little bit more complicated. Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado are all tied atop the division with a 2-1 record so far, and USC looms behind them with their 2-2 record. But unlike in the North, the South does not have a clear favorite, so predicting who will be punching their ticket to the Pac-12 championship game is much harder. After losing to Stanford and Utah, the hopes of USC returning to the Pac-12 championship seemed all but gone. Now, with 2 back-to-back wins against Arizona State and Colorado, winning the Pac-12 South looks a bit more realistic, but they would need some help. USC needs to win out in the Pac-12, both North and South, but the help they would need would come at Utah's expense. 2 losses from the Utes would immediately put the Trojans in the driver's seat for the division, as they own the head-to-head tiebreakers over ASU and Colorado. In short, when it comes to the South, expect chaos in the second half of the season. This weekend, the key matchups continue as Colorado takes on ASU, and USC will try to keep their Pac-12 hopes alive against Arizona.
After struggling early on this season, USC's offense seems to have found a bit of a rhythm in recent weeks. Welcome in Alex Duplessis to help break down what it is about Sam Darnold that has given this USC offense a little bit more of a spark. Thanks for joining me, Alex.
Thanks, I'm glad to be here.
So we saw a glimpse of it early in the season, but what is it specifically about Darnold that allows for this consistent danger to be going on through USC's offense?
Well, I think it's a few things. Obviously, the big playability and mobility, but also how he executes RPOs or run-pass option plays like this one here. So in an RPO, the offensive line's going to block run, and depending on what the defense does, the quarterback's either going to give the ball to the back or he's going to pull it and fire it out wide to a receiver. On this particular play, the end man on the line of scrimmage is unblocked. He's who Sam's reading. He crashes down hard to get the running back in the backfield, but ASU also brings their outside linebacker on a blitz. And what this means is we've got Juju Smith-Schuster one-on-one on the outside.
And that's not something you want to see as a defender.
No, it's not. And Sam sees it quickly, pulls the ball, fires it out to his playmaker on the outside, who makes a huge play.
Now, we have a play from this past weekend against Colorado. It's not as flashy a play, but it's still the same concept of the run-pass option. What do you see from Sam Darnold here?
You're right, it's not as flashy a play, but it's still really important. USC's trying to convert another first down late in the game, run out the clock, secure the win. Now on this play, Darnold's reading this guy here. If he stays at home or if he flows with Deontay Burnett, USC's just going to run this football all the way. But since he comes off the edge on a blitz, that leaves Deontay Burnett wide open on the bubble. And then as you see here, that makes for a nice, easy pitch and catch that USC converts into a first down.
Well, lastly, Alex, surely it's not just the run-pass options that's making this USC explosive. Just last week, we saw Daniel Bebe, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Darius Rogers all with deep completions. What is it about Sam Darnold that's opening up these long balls for USC?
Well, I think it's just really confidence, and you'll see it on this play here. Colorado's going to show a cover one look, means they have one deep safety. He's going to try to rob anything underneath. We have man coverage across the board. And Juju's just going to run a simple go route on this play. This middle safety here fails to give any help over the top, so this is essentially just another one-on-one situation. Sam sees that, sees his All-American in a one-on-one, says, my guy's better than yours, gives him a chance to go prove it. Now, it's not a great throw, but Juju makes an incredible catch.
Definitely bailed him out with that one.
And with these RPOs and deep shots down the field, it's forcing defenses to play USC more honestly and less aggressively, and that creates opportunities all over the field, especially in the run game.
Well, it's no secret that USC's offense has been something special over the past couple of weeks, averaging over 530 yards per game. You just get the feeling, like Sam Darnold mentioned, that if they can just keep hold of the ball and not turn it over, they're going to be hard to stop as we enter into the back half of the season. But that's all the time we have for the Gridiron Breakdown. Thanks for joining me, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Your favorite segment is back. I'm joined by Paolo, Uggetti, and Keely Eure for Agree or Disagree. So guys, let's get right into it. USC has won their last 2 games after starting 1-3. And so, simply put, Coach Helton is still on the hot seat. Agree or disagree?
Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to go with agree.
Wow, okay.
But the hot seat is a little less, it's a little less hot. It's cooler. But I think that's due in part to making the quarterback change to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is kind of acting like a big Band-Aid for some other poor coaching decisions that are still going on.
I think with being at USC, a first-year head coach, he's always going to be kind of in not an interim status literally, but you're always kind of seeing how he's going to prove himself. And with a new AD, you never know. Things are up in the air. The seat is always going to be warm, I think. But I also think that because of the change he made from Sam Darnold from Max Brown to Sam Darnold, that is kind of hurting him and helping him at the same time. You know, he can't disassociate himself from the fact that he made the wrong choice at the beginning of the season. So the success that comes from now on is good for the team, but for him, it's kind of an indictment on his errant decision.
Exactly. That's why it's a Band-Aid. Who knows what the record would be, how Sam would have done against Utah if he had all that time to prepare and beat the starter.
Yeah, I mean, Sam obviously has played really well the last 2 games, despite having 3 turnovers. So he's really provided that spark that Coach Helton said he wanted. When you named the starter, he said, I need a spark from the offense, and Sam has given him that spark. So with how well Sam has been playing, do you agree or disagree with the idea that USC should still be a run-first team? Because that's what Coach Helton seems to want.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to say disagree.
A little of both?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Okay.
Because in theory, they should be a run-first team. You know, they have a loaded backfield with Justin Davis and Ronald Jones, and they have explosive backs who can take the load and really lead this offense. But with how Sam's been playing, I think that you can't be stubborn and sticking to a scheme if what's working is your quarterback, and he's leading the offense. He's giving them the spark you want. And so I think with USC, they can't. I mean, they can go into the game and approach it as a run-first team, but they can't really get stuck within that if the game changes or if they need to make an adjustment. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, this is why I said disagree, because I feel like sometimes Helton really forces it. I don't know if that naturally goes with how this team works, especially now that Justin Davis, we don't know when he's going to come back with that high ankle sprain. You know, Rojo's been having trouble getting going. You have guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe a Dorian Jackson. Helton said he wants a Dorian Jackson on offense. He wants that spark. So why not air it out to these receivers that are really good and then use your running backs as a secondary?
Yeah, I mean, they have been really good. USC has just been extremely explosive the last 2 games, and they're really starting to get it rolling. They've clawed their way back into the Pac-12, so USC will win the Pac-12 South. Agree or disagree?
I definitely disagree.
Disagree.
With this one.
All right.
So after the Utah game, Helton said that was one of the lowest points of his coaching career so far. And I think every game since that, it gets even worse because, you know, they beat ASU, they beat Colorado. There's not really a Pac-12 South opponent left that they can't beat. So now Utah is just that big glaring error on the schedule, and you can tell he really wants that game back, and of course they do, because now they need help from Utah.
Simply put, they're going to need way too much help. Utah needs to lose twice, and they need to win out for them to have a chance at the Pac-12 South. And I think that with USC, you never know what you're going to get from week to week. You never know how they're going to perform, how they're going to show up, if they're going to show up. So it's hard to predict the fact that they're going to win the Pac-12 South. Yeah, these 2 wins are nice, but they need a whole revamping of their team for us to really put our faith in them and say they're going to win the Pac-12 South.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because Utah plays Arizona State and Colorado in some of the last weeks of the season, so it's going to come down to the end. But it's all the time we have. Thank you for joining me, guys. One thing we can all agree on is that USC needs to keep winning if they want to keep this streak alive, and they're going to have to attempt to do so in Tucson on Saturday.
The number 3 USC men's water polo team has been dominant so far this season. One of their captains, James Walters, kind enough to join me in studio. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you guys are off to this strong start. You're coming into this game playing against UCSB, number 7 team in the nation. You guys have played them once before. What's going to be the difference from last game to this game?
This game, there's going to be a lot more emotion involved because this season has gone by. You know, we played them in the beginning, and now everyone's halfway through. Teams are getting better, and you know we're getting more excited to get to the last games and when it really counts.
You guys are the number 3 team in the nation. Having that kind of pressure on you, does that change things? And you guys are especially playing against such tough opponents.
Absolutely not. You know, if we're ranked number 3 right now. We'd like to be higher, and it just means that we got to keep pushing and try and get into a better spot going into the conference tournament.
When you are playing such highly ranked teams and you've been kind of having a lot of success, that last game against UCSB 14-3 and last game against Irvine 20-4, how do you keep that momentum going from one game to the next when you know that you've been kind of dominating so much?
Well, the momentum comes from just the end goal. You know, everyone on the team knows that we're getting better, and the reason why we're playing so hard and have so much desire in it is to get better, to play UCLA and Cal and Stanford and University of Pacific maybe, So we just know that we are doing everything that we're doing to get better for the future and for the future games to come.
Well, one of the things that stuck out most to me is the fact that you guys are so young. You're a junior, a captain. What is it like having that leadership role with only one senior on the team?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's an awesome experience for me. I know the guys they respect me, and I respect them just as much, and it's a great experience for me. And I'm not sure what to say, but I just feel like it's a really great experience, and the guys are good to me, and I'm good to them, and it's been a lot of fun.
So as a utility, you're kind of all over the place in the pool. Mm-hmm. But one thing that has really shined so far for you guys is the defense, especially the play of McGlynn Barron. Mm-hmm. What is it about this defensive camaraderie and the shutdown ability that makes you guys so good?
It comes from our coaches, and that's the way it is in practice. They've developed this mindset in us that we don't want to allow goals, and we'll do anything we can to keep away from allowing any goals. And getting better at defense, getting better at water polo is going to make us successful.
So moving now to a little bit of a personal level, you've been on a few of the USA youth national teams, won a couple honorable All-Americans. What is it like to be able to get those type of honors and then still be able to come back to a program like USC and play for them?
Well, you know, it's fun. I mean, those are the trips where you get to travel and you're with guys that you've been competing against your entire life. And so normally you have like this rage against them because you're playing against them, and you know, you want to win it with your own club or your high school or your college now, and then you go play with them on the same team. So it's really more of a fun experience because all these guys you're used to competing against are now like your best friends, and you get to play alongside of them.
Well, college athletics is nothing new to your family. Your brother John was on the water polo national championship team back in 2013. Dad played at Kansas for football. What is it like growing up in an athletic household like that?
It's competitive. You know, it's always been competitive. If you lost a water polo game when I was growing up, it was like no one would talk at dinner. It would just be, it would be silent, and you'd sit there and just be like, man, I messed up today. Like, why didn't I make this shot? Or, yeah, so it's just, we've always been competitive, and I love it. I don't think there's any other way.
What was it like playing video games and stuff like that?
I used to play a lot of video games.
You guys ever get into fights or anything like that? Too competitive?
Countless, yeah. You know, all the time. We were always playing video games, and like, you know, even just simple games, board games and stuff. Is, you know, you cheated. Yeah, I'm trying to win. You know, it's just like we always had that competitive mindset in all these sports, and I think it definitely came from my dad initially playing football at Kansas.
There you go. You got to do what you got to do to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks for joining me today.
Yeah.
You can catch James and the rest of the USC water polo team take on UC Santa Barbara Sunday at 1 o'clock in the Utengzoo Aquatic Center.
The USC women's soccer team had an interesting weekend. After beating top-ranked Stanford last Thursday to push their win streak to double digits, the women of Troy lost to Cal on Sunday 1-0. But the good news is I'm now joined by Josh Cohen to help break down just what's been going on with the soccer team. So Josh, except for the game against Cal, I mean, the defense has been outstanding with the team so far this year. They've only let up more than one goal once this season. It was all the way back in August. The back line's led by Kayla Mills and Mandy Freeman. So what makes this defense just so outstanding?
You just mentioned her, Kayla Mills. She's actually a center defensive mid, so it's actually technically a fifth defender. What she does is she plays center defensive mid to shield the back four. In the formation that they play, she tidies everything up in front of the defenders, makes their life a whole lot easier back there. So you think about it, only one of the players from last year's starting back line, Allie Prysock, is a starter this year due to injuries and some other tactical changes. The back line looks a lot different. Kayla Mills, who made the transition from right back to center defensive mid, is making life a whole lot easier for that back four.
Yeah, I mean, the defense has been elite, but the offense has been scoring. I mean, they've been playing great as well. Last season, the headliner was Morgan Andrews, and she's been playing well this year as well, but the offense has really thrived because of two newcomers, Katie Johnson and Alex Anthony. Johnson is back after missing all of last season with an injury, and Anthony is a transfer, so what have these two brought to the offense?
Well, it's huge because you mentioned Morgan Andrews, and we knew what she could do heading into this season, but she's a center attacking midfielder. You want your forwards to be your leading goal scorers, and this year, that's what USC is looking at. You have Alex Anthony and Katie Johnson, two very different kinds of players. Katie Johnson, incisive movement off the ball, very fluid, mesmerizing on the ball, has the great footwork. Alex Anthony, a hold-up player. Allows the midfielders to catch up, she lays it off, and the attack continues. The fluidity up there is unbelievable, and they have taken so much pressure off the likes of Andrews and Nicole Mullen, the midfielders, to score the goals.
I mean, that fluidity is something that Coach Kadani has talked about. He said that in the Stanford game when they scored three goals, he thought they were playing really free and loose, and they weren't overthinking it too much. But the offense is good, the defense is good. It's one of the top-ranked teams in the country, Josh, so how far do you think they can go?
To the natty, Jackson, and I'll tell you why. It's the one position we haven't talked about, the goalkeeper. Sammy Jo Prudhomme between the pipes. That is the reason this team can win it all this year. You can have 10 amazing players, but if that 11th is a shaky netminder, I hate to say it, you're not going to win. Good thing for USC, Sammy Jo Prudhomme has the composure, the experience, and the skill set to get USC that national championship this year.
I mean, that's quite the prediction, Josh, but it's exciting stuff. Thank you for joining me, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, the talent's definitely there for the women of Troy, but with 6 games until the postseason, anything can happen. USC will try to get back in the win column on Saturday when they take on Arizona State down in Phoenix.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Ask an Athlete. I'm Lauren Dunn and I'm here today with Morgan Andrews from the USC women's soccer team. Morgan is a senior midfielder, and she's a real driving force behind the women's soccer team. She leads the team in goals scored and is also on the watch list for the Mac Herman Trophy list. So let's get things started. I'm going to ask you as many questions as I can in 60 seconds. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's get the timer going. Okay. Here we go. So, sweet or sour?
Sweet.
Favorite guilty pleasure?
Chocolate and 80s movies.
Ooh, nice. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I guess when people chew really loud, that really gets at me.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Do you have
100%.
dogs?
I have 2 pugs.
What are their names?
Louie and Gomez. Very cute.
So cute. Do you have a weird or a hidden talent?
I shoot a recurve bow at home.
What is that?
It's like Katniss, like my goal celebration. But yeah.
That's pretty awesome. What's your favorite thing to do at the beach?
I guess lay around, but I also like to swim a lot.
Awesome, same. What is a talent you wish you had?
I wish I could sing. I feel like everyone's very attracted to and always pays attention to someone's beautiful voice. So I wish I could sing, but Lord knows I can't.
Same. What was your childhood email account username?
Morganator@gmail.com.
Love it. And what is your favorite movie?
The Terminator, and that is why that email account is just the way it is.
Perfect. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Awesome job, Morgan. You can see the USC women's soccer team play in Arizona this weekend, and you can also catch them back at home when they take on Washington State next Thursday.
Last week was full of highs and lows for the USC Trojans. Let's take a look at how each team fared. It's time to light the torch. The USC women's tennis team took on some of the top teams in the nation last week at the Riviera Women's All-American Championships. The duo of Zoe Katz and Gabby Smith bulldozed the competition up until the quarterfinals. There, they fell 8-7 against a pair from Florida. As for singles, Madison Westby made it to the second round of qualifiers before her shoulder injury forced her to sit out. Westby still believes that teamwork is what will lead the women of Troy to their next win.
I think going forward, we just all need to work together. I mean, it's definitely like, although it's an individual sport, we're also very much a team and just like supporting one another.
The team will travel to San Diego next week to compete in the ITA Southwest Regionals. The men's water polo team recorded yet another win in the pool, giving the Trojans a 14-1 record on the season. The team defeated UC Irvine on the road 20-4 after a home win against Pepperdine last week. Freshman Rin Dosic was named MPSF Newcomer of the Week on Monday after scoring 4 goals over those last 2 games. Dosic says the team's future is what fires him up.
The main goal is actually the most motivating thing for us, and that's the national championship, so that's something that's pushing me every game.
Dosic and the rest of the team will challenge the number 7 ranked UCSB Gauchos again this Sunday. The women's volleyball team came out even last week with a win over Arizona State and a loss over Arizona. The women of Troy are now 11-6 with a 3-3 record in the Pac-12. Head coach Mick Haley says that despite the struggles, he doesn't feel the need to crack down on the players.
That won't help them in the long run right now. This has got to come from within the team to want this more and to do this. And I believe, honestly, they'll get this.
The women of Troy will next head up north to face the Oregon Ducks. Well, that's all I've got from around the USC sports scene. The torch has been lit. This past Sunday, the Los Angeles Rams had their 3-game win streak come to an end at home against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills hadn't played in the Coliseum for 24 years, but they had a few players who quickly felt right at home. Rams play-by-play broadcaster J.B. Long got right behind Reggie Bush as he walked through the familiar tunnel onto the field where he dominated defenses all throughout his college years. Bush was joined at midfield for the coin toss along with 3 other former USC players. Wide receiver Robert Woods, cornerback Kevon Seymour, and cornerback nickel Robbie Cohen all were named captains for the game. After Robbie Coleman returned a beautiful 41-yard interception for a touchdown, he got some love from his teammates. Kevon Seymour tweeted, "Felt good to be back in the Coliseum with my new team/family. Shout out to my boy Robbie Coleman, he went bananas. #Bills Mafia." After the game, former USC safety TJ McDonald put the Rams' 11-point loss behind him and threw up a V for victory with his former teammates. Woods captioned this Instagram, "Trojan fan." Current USC players also made sure not to miss out on the Trojan reunion this weekend. Adoree Jackson tweeted, "The man, the myth, the legend, and my idol." At Reggie Bush, "Doesn't get any better than chopping it up with the greatest of all time. #turn the 2 upside down, it's a 5 now."
Bush returned the favor and retweeted Adori's post saying he was proud of his effort and talent. So while the Coliseum itself was familiar territory for these former Trojans, the stadium did have a different look than it does on Saturdays. Let's go to Jackson and Connor have more.
Thanks, Savannah. USC football wasn't the only team playing in the Coliseum this weekend. This was the first of 2 times this season where both USC and the Rams will have back-to-back home games in the same weekend.
And as you can see, the Coliseum workers wasted no time after the USC game ended. They repainted both the end zones and midfield with the NFL logos, and they took down all the USC banners and replaced them with Rams one around the Coliseum.
Jackson, I was at both games this weekend. It was crazy to see the transformation from the first game to the NFL game. Still saw a little bit of the logos peering out, but it wasn't too bad. I was impressed. Biggest thing that kind of stuck out to me, Coliseum was selling beer. Can you imagine that? Beer?
That's baffling. I can't even imagine that for USC games. It's a good thing they don't sell that for USC.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's all the time we have for this week. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @SportsSceneUSC, like us on Facebook, and check out uscannonburgmedia.com for more. We'll see you next week.